learners, welcome to yet another session, a very useful and a very informative session on handling cash and bank transactions. I am Dr. Gitika S. Johri, faculty at School of Vocational Education and Training, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Learners, you know we have been discussing the course on secretarial practice, which is also a part of the program on Diploma in Modern Office Practice. Now, before we start today's session, let us have a look at all what we have covered so far. We have done secretary, we have completed communication in 2 parts, office correspondence we have done, reception and public relations we have done, meetings again we have covered in 2 parts, report writing we have covered, sources of information we have completed in 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 2b, travel arrangements again we have covered in 2 parts. Handling cash and bank transactions, we have completed the first part in our last session, and what we had discussed or what we had covered in this last session was cash and bank accounts. We had learnt about the different type of cash book, that is the general cash book and the petty cash book, and we had also learnt about how the different type of transactions are recorded in the journal. Now, our today's session, which is I said again on handling cash and bank transactions and part 2 of the same course or the unit, it is continuation of the previous session, and we will be covering the following topics. We will be covering bank reconciliation, we will be covering the type of bank accounts, and we will also be covering the type of errors which are committed in the process of accounting and their rectification. So learners, let's begin with bank reconciliation. Now, before we understand what do we mean by bank reconciliation, we need to know what does reconcile mean. To reconcile does not mean to adjust or rectify. Rather, it means to bring something into a state of agreement or accord. Or reconciling a bank account implies ensuring that bank account balance as per cash book and bank book is agreeing after taking into consideration all the reasons for the differences in the balance. Now, in reconciling the bank balance, we consider the balance either as per the cash book or the bank passbook, and we make adjustments to the same to account for the differences in the books and thereby check whether we get the balance as per the other book or not. So after taking into consideration all the reasons for differences in balances as shown by both the books and making the respective adjustments to the balances as shown by one of the books, we arrive at the balance as per the other book. Then we assure ourselves that the balance has been revealed by the book correct. Both the books is correct rather. Now, when is bank reconciliation statement prepared? Now, bank reconciliation statement, which is normally called as BRS, it is prepared as and when it is needed. Now, the need for preparation of bank reconciliation statement arises only when we see that there is a difference in the bank account balance as revealed by the cash book and the bank passbook. So learners, in simple terms, it means that bank reconciliation statement can be taken to be a statement that majorly explains the differences. And differences mean in both the accounts. Generally, we prepare a bank reconciliation statement at the end of the accounting period to explain the differences between the bank account balance as shown in the balance sheet and the balance as revealed by the passbook. Now, we have been discussing about that there are causes of differences. What are the causes of differences? Why is there difference in the cash book or in the passbook? This may be on account of the following factors. First is checks issued but not presented for payment, checks deposited but not cleared, interest allowed by the bank, interest and expenses charged by the bank, interest and dividend collected by the bank, direct payments by the bank, direct payments into the bank by a customer, dishonor of bills discounted with the bank, bills collected by the bank on behalf of a customer, and errors committed. So these are few of the instances where we can see that there can be differences between the cash book and the passbook, and these are the differences which we have to rectify. Now here, in this particular side, it is trying to show the effect of transaction on the bank reconciliation statement. So if we see, basically there are two books, we know, the cash book and the passbook. The starting balance, if shows a debit balance as far as the cash book is concerned, and if we are looking at the passbook, then the starting balance shows the credit balance. So here are some of the effects of the transaction. First is checks issued but not presented for payment. The transaction will have a positive impact and in case of cash book, and a negative impact in case of a passbook. Similarly, checks deposited into the bank but not yet collected, again minus in the cash book and plus in the passbook. Third is interest allowed by the bank but not entered in the cash book. It will have a plus effect on the cash book and a minus effect in the passbook. Similarly, bank charges, not entered in the cash book. So it has a minus effect or a negative effect, and a plus or a positive effect in the passbook. Then direct deposit into the bank by a customer, it will show a positive effect in the cash book, if it with the debit balance, and a negative impact in the passbook with the credit balance. Then direct payments from the bank not entered in the cash book, again minus in the cash book and plus in the passbook. And then direct collections made by the bank not entered in the cash book, plus in the cash book and minus in the passbook. Then checks issued and payment received by the creditor but not entered in the cash book, again it will show a minus balance in the cash book and a plus balance in the passbook. Checks paid into the bank but omitted to be entered in the cash book, so it will again show a plus effect in the cash book and a minus effect in the passbook. Dishonor of a check and bill discounted with the bank, again a minus effect on the cash book and a plus effect in the passbook. And lastly, the check entered in the cash book but not sent to the bank, a minus effect in the cash book and a plus effect in the passbook. So these are some of the effects of the transaction which will have an impact on the cash book and passbook. Now learners, we need to know the need and importance of bank reconciliation statement. Now a bank reconciliation statement is required and is important because of the following reasons. Firstly, we are able to maintain proper maintenance of cash book and passbook, and this will help in the recognition and rectification of errors which might have occurred at the time of posting the entries. As the reconciliation statements are made at regular intervals, means they can be on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a fortnightly basis, or on a monthly basis. The companies, with the help of these books, can easily monitor and compare any kind of frauds and thefts of funds. So it is a very good check at every stage. You can find out if there are any kind of errors, and then they can be rectified there and then. Third is any undue delay in the clearance of checks can be highlighted by the reconciliation. Then fourthly, reconciliation helps the management to check the accuracy of entries recorded in the cash book and keep track of checks which may have been sent to the bank for collection. Similarly, as our previous reason was that they have a very good check balance, basically. Because of this reconciling process, we're able to see what are the entries or what are the errors which we have committed, and the transactions which have not been recorded. So it's really very helpful. Then lastly, it reflects actual bank balance. So it can be seen, learners, that from the above it is clear that banks need a system with the help of which they can record the transactions of their company, that is whether it is depositing money or taking out money. For this reason, every individual or a company, they need to open an account in the bank. It will be very useful because when you have an account in the bank, you will be able to match your both cash book, and if you are maintaining some cash book, and your passbook, whether there is no difference, or if there is any difference, what is the difference on account for. So it's very useful that one has a account in the bank. Now learners, we have been discussing so much about banks, but we also need to know what are the different kind of bank accounts which are being maintained. So firstly, we have a savings bank account, we have current account, we have recurring deposit accounts, we have fixed deposit accounts, and then we have cumulative term deposit accounts. So let us see some of the features which are related to each of these accounts. Now, a savings bank account can be opened by individuals. Current account is normally opened by businessmen or companies, and recurring deposit, again, it is generally opened by individuals, and fixed deposit or cumulative term deposit, it can be opened by anyone. Then the next feature related to the maturity period. As far as the savings bank account and the current account is concerned, they are operative till it is closed. Till we finally close these accounts, they will remain in operation. Regarding the recurring deposit, it is for fixed number of months. We know that they are recurring deposits for fixed number of months. Then regarding fixed deposits and cumulative term deposits, the maturity period ends after a fixed number of days. Third is deposits. Now here in savings bank account, there is no limit on the amount or a number of times a deposit is made. Similarly, as far as the current account is concerned, again there is no limit on the amount or the number of times a deposit is made. Now, so the next feature related to the different kind of accounts is number of withdrawals from account. Now talking about the savings account, is limited numbers per month, so an extra fee will be charged if it is beyond that particular limit. Regarding your current account and your they are basically there is, for current account there is no restriction. For the other three, it is on maturity. Then next is a feature which is related to is on interest. The balance in the account earns monthly interest on the minimum balance maintained between the 10th and the last day of the month. This is for the savings bank account. But if we talk about the current account, the balance does not earn any kind of interest. Regarding your recurring deposit, the interest accumulated till maturity period and paid along with the deposit at the end. And regarding your fixed deposit, it is simple interest paid quarterly, and for cumulative, it is interest accumulated till maturity and paid along with deposit at the end. So interest on is interest paid. Now the next feature related to these accounts is minimum balance to be maintained or the minimum amount of deposit. Now talking about the saving accounts, the account holder, they need to maintain minimum balance in the account on any day as decided by the bank from time to time. It may vary from rupees 200 to even rupees 1000. Else, if you are not being able to maintain, this minimum amount, they will charge you some kind of service fee. Regarding current account, balance can be even zero at any time. Then regarding the other three accounts, there is a minimum deposit amount which varies from bank to bank. So every bank, they will be having a minimum amount which has to be kept as a balance. So it all depends from bank to bank. Then next is mode of withdrawals. Regarding savings bank, the withdrawal slip or the check can be used to take out the money. Regarding the current account, only checks can be used. Remember, only checks can be used. Regarding the other three, or rather we can say regarding the recurring deposit, the bank pays the maturity amount by check. Regarding your fixed deposit, the bank pays the initial deposit amount by check, and for cumulative, the bank pays the maturity amount by check. So apart from the above mentioned accounts, there are certain NRI accounts as well, learners. Now, joint account in a bank. A bank account or a post office account can be operated by a single account holder or can be operated in more than one person's name. A joint account is an account opened by more than one person and thus can have maximum of 3 names. Now, while operating the joint account, names of all the persons are to be mentioned in such cases. Specimen signatures card needs to be filled up for all the joint account holders. In the case of operating a joint account, that is while you're withdrawing money or you're signing checks, the account holders have the following options. So there are certain things which the account holders, they have to keep in mind, when they are operating a joint account. Firstly, anyone can sign. So this is useful when one account holder is out of station or if he is no longer alive. The second is all need to sign. That means it is more secure when all the account holders sign. The option chosen by the account holders, it needs to be intimated to the banks at the time of operating the account. Now learners, another important thing which is related to the bank which we should know is depositing cash or check in the bank account. So to deposit the amount or the money into an account, what do? We use a slip called the paying slip. We need to give the bank some details which are shown in the specimen or a sample slip used by the syndicate bank. Here we have taken an example of syndicate bank. Note that the slip has two parts. On the right side is the banks it is for the bankers to use, and on the left side it is for the depositors record, which may be duly signed and stamped by the bank. So as we were discussing about depositing check or a cash in the bank, we need a paying slip. So our next slide, it basically shows a paying slip where it is showing on the left side it is for the depositors and on the right side it is for the banker. Now if you see here, we have tried to give you the details which have to be filled up on the bank copy on the right side, and most of this will be the same information which is also to be filled up on the left side. So if you see the first is name of the bank's branch. Here it is showing Jayanagar. If you see the check, the paying slip rather, you will see that the branch is giving as Jayanagar. Similarly, if you see the date of deposit, here it is showing as 3rd of April 2006. So if you see the paying slip, again here on number 2 serial number, it is shown 3rd April 2006. So similarly learners, we have tried to give you most of the details which have to be filled in by the bank copy. At number 3, it is paid in or to the credit of what is the nature of the account, that is savings bank. Then here we have also given the account holder's name, which is Ramesh KN. Then at number 5, if you see the paying slip, it is showing the amount of deposit in words. You can see at number 6, it is very clearly showing the account number as 14502. So the amount of to be deposited in figures, it is shown as 2000. Then signature of the depositor is shown. Then even the denominations, that is the breakup of the amount in the different currency notes, it is shown, like there are two 500 rupee notes, then there are 10 100 rupees notes, so making it a total of rupees 2000. Cash withdrawal slip, or what is cash withdrawal form. Now for the purpose of withdrawing cash or money from the bank, again certain details are required to be provided in the withdrawal form or the slip. This is called the withdrawal form or the slip. Now as an example, let us see what needs to be filled from the bank using the withdrawal form of the State Bank of India. Here we have taken an example of the State Bank of India. Now here you can see that there is the withdrawal from a slip of State Bank of India. Again, details, we have given in our next slide, which talks about name of the account holders, which is shown at circle number 1. So here it is Padmakshi. The name is Padmakshi. So here you can say it number 1, it is Padmakshi. Then number 2, so here we have mentioned date is on 1st May 2006. Then account number in the bank is provided at circle number 3. So you can see at circle number 3, it is giving you the account number details, that is 14110. So similarly, all the details, the amount of withdrawal and figures as well as in words is given at circle number 4 and 5. Then debit the amount to my SB account number, that is also mentioned. Then 7th is signature of the depositor, then it should be as per the specimen signature or the card which is given to the bank. So all these details, they are given, as far as the withdrawal slip or form is concerned. Now learners, when we are using the withdrawal slip, there are certain restrictions on the use of the slip. We have to keep certain things in mind when we are using the withdrawal slip. For what are those things which one has to keep in mind? Only the account holder can use this slip to withdraw the amount for himself. Then this form cannot be used to make payment to others. Then thirdly, the account holder has to produce the passbook, check. Now since withdrawal slip cannot be used to make payment to others, many a time it cannot be used to make payment to others, we also use the form called a check. So let us see what needs to be filled in a check so as to pay the amount to others. Now as an example, here we have taken an example out of format of a check which is used by ABCD Bank. So in the check we need to write certain details which are needed to make the payments. So what are those details which one has to write when you are making the use of check? Here you can see first is pay, means name of the person who needs to be paid. So it is given at serial number 1. So here it is HSBC car loan account number 5893252132. Then the next is date, the date on which the money is to be paid. It is shown as 21st October 2017. This is at serial number 2. Here it is given and it is valid for 3 months. You can see that this particular check will be valid for 3 months. It is very clearly mentioned over here. Then the next is rupees. Rupees is both given in words as well as in figures. So if you see the check, it is given in rupees 1,23,500 only. In words it is given like this, and in numericals, it's also given in figures 1,23,500. Then the account number is also mentioned 00081930040. This is the account number of the person who is issuing the check. Then signature of the person issuing the check, so that is also very clearly mentioned. Then check number is given towards the end, the check number is 569298. Then mode of payment is account pay. So these are certain things one has to keep in mind when you are using check as a mode of payment. When we are talking about a check, there's 3 parties who are involved in the realization or the credit amount of the check. Who are those 3 parties? The first is the pay. The pay means the party who receives the amount mentioned in the check. So in this above example, it is HSBC car loan account number so and so. So he is the pay. Then the second party who is involved is the drawer. Now this party is one who pays the amount mentioned in the check. So here if you see, it is the name of PDS Infotech Limited. I can show you the check again. So it says for PDS Infotech Inc. Limited. Then the next is the drawee. Drawee means the bank which pays the amount, ABCD. Now learners, there are various types of checks that can be issued. Now what are the different kind of examples of checks? Bearer check, order check, cross check, account pay check, stale check, post dated check, self check, antedated check, traveler's check, mutilated checks or blank checks. Now learners, let us try and understand the process of crediting the amount mentioned in the check, just for our reference purpose. Although there are people who might be visiting the bank regularly, or there might be people who are not visiting the bank, but of course we would like to know what is the process of crediting the amount which is mentioned in the check. So for example, let us assume that you are Suman and you have received a check from your friend Nanda, say for rupees 1,000. Now in this case, you are the pay or the drawee, because you are going to receive a check from your friend Nanda and Nanda is your payer or the drawee. Then let us assume that your banker where you have an account is Syndicate Bank and Nanda's banker is different, and Nanda's bank is Canara Bank. So let us see the sequence of operations which take place before this rupees 1,000 is credited to your account. Firstly, what will we do? You deposit the check in Syndicate Bank, which is my bank or your bank, using the deposit slip. My bank and your bank means the pay's bank. Then your banker, that is Syndicate Bank, sends the check to the banker of Nanda, which is the Canara Bank. Canara Bank again checks if the check can be cleared, it can be passed or not. If the check is passed by the Canara Bank, then Canara Bank debits the account of the drawer. Drawer means your friend Nanda for rupees 1,000 and informs Syndicate Bank that the check is passed. Syndicate Bank, what does it do? It then credits the amount of rupees 1,000 to the amount of pay, that is yourself, that is Suman. So this entire process is called check clearance. Now if the pay and the drawer, they have their accounts in the same city or town, the amount in that case, it is normally credited to the account of pay in normally 2 to 3 days. But in case if it is outstation check, it may take about few days. Next, we need to understand passing of check. You must have heard the term bouncing of check or dishonoring of check. Now it means that the receiver of the check cannot be credited with the amount mentioned in the check to his bank account. A check could be dishonored or it could be returned as unpaid due to any of the following reasons. So what are those reasons? Firstly, the balance in the account does not have the amount specified in the check. Second reason can be signatures on the check does not or it do not tally with what is given to the bank in the specimen signature card. Then in case of joint accounts, when not all the people have signed the check, if account is opened with joint operation, in case of overwriting or corrections on the check, the corrections have to be countersigned, and if they are not countersigned by one or more signatures, then in case again it can be dishonored or returned. Then check is post dated, that is check date is that of a future date. Expired check date, check's validity we said is normally for 3 months from the date of the check. Demand draft. Now what is a demand draft? We are all aware of this terminology, demand draft. Now demand draft is a special instrument which does not get dishonored or bounced. It is always issued by a bank after receiving or debiting drawer's bank account. Given below here, we are showing you an example of a demand draft which is issued by State Bank of Mysore, and it can be seen from the name printed at the top. Notice that this demand draft is crossed DD and it is crossed at the left corner. So here we have shown you a sample of a demand draft. Again there are different things we have mentioned that enclosed within the figure what is the entry in the DD and what are the details with respect to that. So if we talk about the black rectangle which is at the top left, there is a black rectangle which basically shows the branch of the bank issuing the DD. So it is SBM Somwar Pet. Then there is a rectangle against on demand pay, and whose name is it showing? It's showing the names of Foods Limited. Then there is a red circle at the right top corner which shows the date of issue of the demand draft, and it is valid for 3 months. The date mentioned is 22nd June 2006. Very clearly it is mentioned over there. So similarly all the details are given. The green circle shows the amount which is 65,000 which is payable to the party. Then the green rectangle in the middle, it shows about how many 10,000 denominations are there, how many thousand denominations are there, how many 100 denominations are there, how many 10 denominations are there, and how many unit denominations are there. Clearly it is very you can see it very clearly, it is given in the demand draft. Then the black circle at the bottom, it talks about the branch of which has to pay the amount. So it talks about SBM Service Bangalore. Here you can see it is given in the black circle. Then the blue rectangle shows the drawing, and the round rectangle on the right, it shows the signatures. 2 signatures of the officers of the branch issuing the demand draft. So now let us understand a very important thing, that is the difference between a check and a DD. We would all like to know that what is the difference between a check and a DD. So firstly, let us understand by the different kind of features. In the case of a check issue, it is mainly issued by the account holder, but the demand draft is issued by the bank. Then next feature is availability of amount. The account needs to have enough balance at the time of passing of the check. Otherwise it will become dishonored or it will be returned back. But as far as the demand draft is concerned, the amount need to be paid to the bank before the DD is made. All the criteria or all the parameters have already been checked with respect to DD. Then another feature regarding safety measures, a check can be forged easily. We know that there can be so many duplicate signatures and so much of forgery is taking place as far as the check is concerned. But regarding the DD, it is highly secured. Then the next feature is the credit of amount to the pay's account. For the check, it could take a few days, but as far as the demand draft is concerned, it will only take 1 or 2 days. Then dishonoring of instrument. Check may be dishonored. We have already learnt about it in our previous, when we were just discussing about it. But demand draft, it is guaranteed by the bank. Then a next feature related to issuer. The check can be pre or post dated, but the demand draft cannot be pre or post dated. It has to be of that particular date only. Then signature. The check is normally signed by the account holders, but a demand draft is signed by two designated officers of the bank. This is a major difference. Then charges for issue. As far as your check is concerned, it is nil or negligible because we are using our own checkbook for payment or for withdrawal. But as far as the demand draft is concerned, you are using the services of the bank. So based on the value of the demand draft, the bank charges certain kind of commission. So learners, as seen from the above, we can see that demand draft is similar to check, but it is issued by the bank, both as far as the drawer or an drawee are concerned, the banks. Because of this reason, we can see that the demand draft does not bounce and hence it is as good as cash because you know that your payment is guaranteed. So for this reason, many organizations ask for the payment by demand draft for their products and services, whether it is issue of application forms, payment of fees, buying of products, and then they do not use checks. Banks follow the procedures of check clearance for crediting DDs also so as to avoid frauds in the demand draft. So to sum up this entire session, learners, this unit, in this unit we have learned about handling cash and bank transactions. We have also discussed the role of the secretary while dealing with all the activities which are related to the bank and cash. Then this particular unit on handling cash and bank transactions, we have also learned about the different kind of bank accounts which are maintained by individuals and procedures related to the deposit and withdrawal of money from the bank. Then also we have also learned about the need and importance of bank reconciliation, why it is so important. And of course, this entire unit, since we have taken it from the perspective of a secretary, we have tried to familiarize the secretary with all the kind of cash and bank processes and how the dealing with the bank can take place. So I hope, learners, the session of handling cash and bank transactions has been useful to you, and you must have gained quite a good knowledge related to all the cash and bank related activities. Even if you're not a secretary, but even as a learner or as an individual, you should be knowing about these basic nuances as far as cash and bank are required. In case of any queries, you may please write to us on the following email ID, which is gitika.johari@ignou.ac.in. Thank you, learners. Namaskar.